What's up guys, Mega Bleeder here, back with another episode of Mechanical Mastery Plus. Today I'm going to get you caught up with what I did since the last episode, and we're going to get started into Applied Energistics 2. Hey guys, just wanted to remind you that any subs, likes, and comments about stuff that you've seen in the episode are super appreciated. Thanks so much. Okay, so here we are on the bridge of our spaceship, getting ready to take a look at a nice Minecraft sunrise. Let's look at that. Beautiful. So I decorated in here. We can see I've got the terminals here. I just put some blocks down just to kind of flesh it out a little bit. I really like this multi-tank. That's pretty fun. I just wanted to make it look nice in here. That's pretty much all that this is for. I did add in the dialing device and the teleporters to try and get us around the base some more, but I'm going to give you guys a tour first before I show you that. It was just taking a really long time to move around the base, so I added in some teleporters with the dialing device here. Let's move in to our area here. I've got some manual machines that we can just kind of put down. Looks like I was smelting up some iron here. Apparently I was running out, so I threw some in that blast furnace. I've got stuff set up here just for kind of manual operation. Things that we need for base building are here. I have a setup for singularities, so we can use this to move our AE2 channels around wirelessly. The power setup moved over here. Also a create setup over here. I needed this to get a lot of the electric motors. That way we don't have to run create power all over the place. But let me take you on a tour coming through here. So I hollowed out this section. I built a nice little M here, obviously for Mega Bleeder, and I exchanged tons and tons and tons of blocks. If we look in our backpack, we've got a lot of stuff that I exchanged in here. A lot of our concrete is also moved in here. So if we fly around, we can see that everything has been swapped. All the cobblestone has been swapped for concrete. There might be little blocks here and there. Yeah, okay, so I didn't get this floor up here. So there is some stuff that I still need to get, and I can show you basically what I was doing to get those. If we take our exchanging gadget, we can say this stuff, and then we'll just fly through here, swapping out all these. So that's basically what I did. I thought I had gotten everything, but obviously I was incorrect. I did add a little bit to our concrete area here. Our exterior, we're using these compact machine walls. I cleaned this up. I don't remember if this looked like this during the last video, but I put a little kind of facade here on the front of it, and we've got tons and tons of concrete still building up. We can see we've got, you know, over 100,000 blocks here in addition to all of them that we have in our backpack. I did build out a little bit of our courtyard area, have a nice tree in here. I haven't figured out exactly how I want to finish decorating this. I'll probably put in some sort of pond and a pathway and stuff just to make it look nice and update the lights so it's a little bit brighter. I've got another room here that I haven't just yet decided what we're going to do with. I'm probably going to do a cobbleworks in here, you know, for sand, gravel, glass, things like that. The ore processing. So I redid ore processing, and let me go back to the bridge. So in here, I still have some holes in the floor. I'll show you. In here, we've got our dialing device and the screen. Down here, we've got some simple dialers and redstone receivers. These are set up so that I can just push the button for concrete, the ore lab, or the power center, and that will take us there. So if I click on the ore lab, boom, that teleports us right back here. And then we can take a look in here and look at all of our ore processing. So these are each processing a single type of material. So we've got the material coming in from a buyer. We are using an electrolytic separator to make hydrogen and oxygen. Like this one here is creating nickel. That's processing through there. And I think these are full. So what do we got here? We've got silver. So silver, yeah, all these look like they're full. So they get processed here, and this, in this block, let's see, it doubles it. and then the silver clumps, or the ore clumps, get ran through the crushing wheels with a 30% chance to double it again. So we can see that here. They come out, they go through the crushing wheel, gets turned into the crushed silver or the crushed ore, then it goes into a blast furnace, and then that blast furnace is automatically outputting to the left into a entangled storage controller. That is what we have set up for the metals, for the ingots. Over here I've got redstone and coal set up. So right now the coal is actually being processed. We use it for making steel. So we've got a buyer, and this is a little mini sub-network down here. So we just have an energy acceptor with a gate on it, so it's giving it power. And then we can see here we're using 4 of 8 channels. So there's an ME import bus pulling in the coal, and it's pulling it into this network. But since this network doesn't have any place to store that coal, there's no place to store the coal ore in the storage controller that it's connected to here via a storage bus. It has to use the formation plane to put it down into the world, and then the annihilation plane you can see is enchanted up there at the top with Fortune 3, and that breaks it, and then it breaks it and then sends it into the drawer system. And the drawer system here, I did have to use the integrated dynamics once again, but we're gonna try and stay away from spamming this stuff. But again, that is reading the fill ratio. It's trying to see how much coal is in there. It's looking at that here, and then it's saying if this number here is lower than 40,000, then it is outputting a variable of true here, which is set up with a redstone card on the import bus. So that's why it's just not breaking it. It wasn't set up like this at first, and it was spilling coal because it would have space for like one piece of coal, and then it would break it. But because of the Fortune 3, it would drop like 7 of them. So a bunch of it was spilling all over the place. And we have the same setup for redstone minus the integrated dynamics portion, and the same thing for diamonds. Also the same thing for lapis. I did need quartz, but that's a much bigger system. So what I ended up doing there was setting up a factory that is crushing cobblestone into gravel, and then gravel into sand. The sand gets outputted into this entangled block, which is set up on this depot. And you can't see the sand on there, but you can see the particle effects. And in the tooltip on the top, you can see there's 192 sand in there. So that is getting it in there, and then it gets imported into this system. And the only place in it can accept any of that sand is here on this storage bus, which places it here. We can see here that once it gets turned into soul sand, the storage bus can store soul sand here on this depot, and then once that gets washed, it gets picked up by the import bus, and then it tries to import it here into the locked controller system again. And that drawer system is just up here. It's up here, kind of hidden in the dark. In here is where we were using the quantum entangled singularity that we had made up there to give us wireless AE2. So that's all set up there. The essence system I did get moved over, and I modified it slightly. So what we have is a crafter, and here I'm just importing iron nuggets, gold, and iron to be able to make the gold gear and the iron gear, and then also copper ingots to make the copper rod. And that's just automatically crafting into the basic mechanical essence. We waste just a little bit of copper and just a little bit of iron, but it is a lot faster. And then we have an interface here stocking iron, nickel, copper, zinc, quartz, and coal. The coal gets used in this enrichment factory to make enriched carbon, which then gets split between this infusing factory to make enriched iron, which gets moved over here to make steel dust, and then the steel dust gets cooked into steel ingots. The steel ingots get turned into steel gears. Here we have iron and nickel making Invar. They get turned into Invar gears. We've got zinc and copper getting turned into brass, which gets turned into brass rods, and then quartz that gets pulverized into quartz dust, and those all get mixed in here and pulled over to here and get sold. I do have overflow buffers set up here, so the basic mechanical essence comes into here, and then the regular mechanical essence comes into here. So we do have those, that way we can craft things with them, like the skulls, the click machines, the hardened integral components. We do need some of these items. I don't think there's any more. When we get into this, eventually we'll need it. Here the regular mechanical essence gets used in the reinforced integral components and the flux linkage amplifier. These are essential for upgrading the thermal machines. Also making the universal cable. We haven't gotten into the Gobber ingots. I don't know if I will or not. Taking a look at our power, I did move over and upgrade our thermogenerators to the Spirited, which doubles it again. So it was 1120 FE per tick. Each of our 10 generators here was making that. And we can see now that they're all making it, and they're all making 22.4 thousand forge energy per tick. All that goes here into this ultimate energy cube, which then gets pushed into our ender cell. Our player transmitter is up here. I also, from the electrolytic separators that we have in our ore plant, those all create hydrogen and oxygen. So I'm using the hydrogen here mixed with water and biofuel to make ethylene that's getting burned in a gas burning generator, just producing us some extra power. And then the gas burning generator outputs a lot of power. So I've got a cable here with gates, with hardened gates, because the hardened gates only transfer 5,000 FE per tick. So I had to put some extra ones off of there to be able to really pull all the power out of this gas burning generator. And you can see the back of our base here. We did exchange all of this. The lights I'm going to have to upgrade at some point, but I think that'll be once we get more systems into place here. I do want to explore a lot more power options. I want to have a lot of fun with that. The extreme reactors here I have bookmarked, but I haven't done any real progression since we last did any progression. I've more been focused on exchanging blocks and getting things moved over and making things better. I still plan on using these middle floor areas as kind of cable wiring. What I want to do today is actually get into applied energistics to get autocrafting set up. So to get autocrafting set up, we're going to need the ME pattern provider. We're going to need crafting CPUs. We'll probably go all the way up to a 64. We're going to need coprocessors. What else? The molecular assembler. I did make a pattern encoding table. There are a couple of patterns in here. I haven't encoded anything yet. I did make a pattern provider, but we're gonna make a couple of these. The goal, the first thing that you need to do with setting up applied energistics autocrafting is autocraft the autocrafting ingredients. So we'll have to set up an autocraft for the pattern provider, the molecular assembler, because these are the basics that we'll need for crafting. So what I'm going to have to do is get the old setup pulled over from our old base. So if we teleport to our old base, we can come down here, and these are the inscribers that have the presses in them that allow us to make the engineering, the logic, and the calculation press, as well as back here the silicon presses. So all of these I'm gonna have to pick up and take with us. So what I'm actually thinking is over here on this side is where I'm going to set up the applied energistics crafting that we're going to need. So our inscribers here, I'm going to get set up here. The molecular assembler, big, huge, like multi-block that we're going to need. All of our crafting CPUs, those I'm going to set in here. And then I think I'm going to move our storage. We've got a couple of drawers that are down here. Some of these are redundant. These are also being stored down there above the ore lab. So these are just some extra resources that we have. But I think what I'm gonna end up doing is moving our storage down here. I'll probably make these rooms a little bit smaller. That way we don't just have a chunk that just has a couple of blocks in it. That way everything looks a little bit nicer. I'll probably spread out some of the builds, that way they're not super compact, but it looks a lot nicer to look at. And then I'll probably try and use chisel blocks and things like that to decorate them. So let me go ahead, get some of the things placed down that I know that we're gonna need, and then I'll be back. Okay, we're back. I went ahead and got the applied energistics stuff set up. So I'm gonna walk you through what I did here. I have an interface down here that's connected to our system. This is stocking diamonds, gold, certus, and redstone. And what is happening here is these pretty pipes have extractor or retrieval modules in them that are set up to retrieve gold at a limit of 2, so it'll only stock 2 in here. Gold, certus, you can see in the top, and this one over here is diamonds, so that's making the printed engineering circuits. Over here we've got material stonework factories. It's a little bit overkill having 3 of them. I could just have one that provides to all of them, but this way we have a ton of silicon backed up, and that's just getting exported into here. And then the final inscriber is retrieving printed silicon, printed logic circuits, and redstone into here. And then the drawer has a puller upgrade. So we've got fully stocked up engineering, logic, and calculation processors. These are important for AE2, and it's buffering 512, but then there's also a stack in here, so it's a little bit more, technically speaking. Over here on this side, I automated the budding amethyst and the flawless budding certus crystal, and that's giving us certus crystals and the amethyst. I also am definitely going to need string for wool to make our cables, to be able to make smart cables. They need, or the covered fluix cables I should say, does need wool. So I have flax that's automated in here and getting set and crafted up. I set up a little automation here to be able to make fluix. So we've got the factory dropper from Engineer's Decor, and these are filters, and this is our filter setting. So the filter combination gate logic, it needs to be matching all 3 of these filters before it will drop anything, and this is just running at a continuous rate. And I think I'm actually going to modify this slightly, but I'll get back to that. Creating the certus quartz, we can get it from this budding crystal here, but it is a little bit slow. I do have fortune on this annihilation plane, but there's another fast way to get it, and that's from washing skystone, and that also gets us charged certus quartz dust, or the charged certus quartz crystal, not the dust. So I went ahead and set up back here a system that works similarly. So we've got crushers here that are crushing skystone used in the crushing wheel. There's a 100% chance to give you a skystone dust and a skystone, so it's always doubling it. So this is just running in a loop right here. I dropped skystone in there, it's getting crushed up, it gets pulled out, it is blacklisted on this depot and whitelisted on this chute. So the skystone is always going back into here, and then the skystone dust gets pulled out and put into this depot here, which, as you can see, this is filled up, this is also filled up. I'll automate this here in the future. I think what I'll end up doing is setting an export bus down here on the dropper, and then also probably setting up an ME emitter to tell it to stop crafting, so it'll kind of always export until we get to that point. Either that, or I'll set up a pattern provider so we can auto craft it as needed. So what else are we going to do today? Well, I want to set up auto crafting using the pattern provider and the molecular assembler. So what I'm going to do is grab some cables out. We don't need much. What I want to do is place down the pattern provider, a molecular assembler, and another pattern provider. So how these work, we put a pattern in here, and then when we request a craft, it will send it into this molecular assembler. It'll automatically send the pattern and the ingredients in here, and it will craft the items, and then it will eject it back into the system. So with auto crafting, the very first thing that you need to do is set up auto crafting for the blank patterns, because we need to be able to craft more patterns. The Certus quartz, that's automated. Iron is automated. Glowstone, we did have automated before. Let's see, number of items, descending order. How much glowstone do we have? We have a little bit of glowstone, not enough. So we're gonna need to craft this. So we're gonna need to have the recipe for quartz glass, and then we're gonna need the recipe for Certus quartz dust, which I might also automate. We'll probably automate a pulverizer. I was debating on setting another drawer down here to automatically make the Certus quartz dust. That way it's just passive, but I think we'll automate it using a pulverizer or maybe the crushing wheels from Create. But just for now, we will leave that as is. The next thing that we're also going to need is a terminal for our pattern access terminal. That's what I was saying, right? Yes. And we're actually going to place this guy right here, and we're going to need another smart cable, which I think we're out of. Nope, we're not. So we'll place that here, put that guy on there, and now we can see our pattern access terminal, and we can see our molecular assemblers. So I put those in here. Each one of these lines represents another pattern provider. So we can see I put those on different lines. So those are in different pattern providers. And then when the pattern provider is connected to a machine, in this case, the molecular assembler, that is the name that pops up. So if we look in here, we can see it says molecular assembler. It's because it's connected to two molecular assemblers. If I had this on a pulverizer, for instance, it would say there'd be another line here that says pulverizer, and then there would be another row of these lines here. I do need to grab a cover. What cover did I have here? What is this? Skystone. Do I have any Skystone covers? I do not. So to be able to do that, we're going to need 4 of these guys, and that is the cooked skystone. So if I take this guy, put that there, and then the cable facades crafted with the anchor can do this, and now it covers it up. So now we can see this. Now we need to auto craft basically the auto crafting things. So we're going to need to auto craft the molecular assembler, and we're going to need some more patterns here. So we can say, hey, give me 10 patterns, but we do not have any crafting CPUs. So here's another thing that we need to make: the crafting coprocessor. So we're going to need 2 crafting units, because we're going to want a coprocessor and a 64K crafting storage. A 64, and then we'll craft that guy with this guy, and then the crafting coprocessor here. So these guys will actually let us craft. So the blank pattern, if I tried to create 10 of these, it'll say no crafting CPUs are available. So what we're going to do is come on down here, and just on this line, we're just going to kind of butcher this one real quick. We'll put a processor there and a storage there. So now it is reading it, and now the device is online. So we can make our patterns. We can say, hey, give me 10 patterns. It says, all right, I'm going to craft the quartz. I'm going to craft the patterns. And we'll let that do that. It's going to be slow at first, but then boom, we have 10 patterns. Sweet. So now we need to craft the molecular assembler. Wait, I already had the molecular assembler, but we're going to need the crafting table. We're going to need planks for the crafting table. We're also going to need a pattern provider, and then we need both of the formation core and the annihilation core, which is this guy. Boom. Now we can put these in here, and it doesn't matter too much just yet, but the further we spread these out, the better. What we need to do is add on to that, and I think what I'm going to do for that is also program our cables if we have enough space. Let me get one more pattern provider. Actually, let's make it 2 more, and then we're going to make the patterns for our Fluix cables. White wool. The white wool we'll make with string. The Fluix cable gets made here. Quartz fiber gets made there. So now we'll go down and place our other 2 pattern providers down here, and we can see we are up to 5 channels because we have our crafting server here, and then we also have our 4 pattern providers. The molecular assembler doesn't use any channels. So now what we can do is come up here and request some smart cable. We can say, hey, give me a stack of it. And we can see we're missing glowstone. So let's go down and just say 32. Can we make 32? Yes, we can. And it's gonna craft that. And if we actually can catch it in time, we can see it happening down here. We can see that it's crafting it. So it's crafting these items that are shown here on the screen. And we can actually make this faster by putting acceleration cards in here. So the next thing that we need to do is get our glowstone system brought over, which, going back to our old base, is over here. So this is how we were crafting glowstone. We were smelting the cinder flower using this. So for our blaze cakes, our ender pearls, and our netherrack, I'm gonna need to move these systems over. So I'm gonna go ahead and move these over. I'm gonna find a spot for them in the base. I'm not sure. Those are more of a create heavy build. Uses a lot of create items, so I think I'm gonna move those down on this level somewhere. I think I'll put those maybe over here. We'll work on having some create automation. You know what? Let's do it up here. I'm going to do it up here. I'm going to start some create automation up there. So I'm going to gather those things from our old base, get those set up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I changed my mind just a little bit. I added in some rooms here because I know that we're going to need further ore and material processing. So in here, I moved our glowstone production. So we have our netherrack being created here. That gets pulled out, pushed into the crusher. The crusher then uses, or it crushes it up into 2. And then it's got an extract here to send it to the nearest destination, which is the basin. And then any extra gets sent here to the furnace. And then I have that being automated or being sent down here into this entangled block, which is connected to this drawer and gets output right here. So our glowstone is back to being fully automated. So what I want to do, we're going to need more patterns. Let's see if we can make a stack. Nope, we cannot because we need the Certus quartz dust. So we need to automate that guy. So the Certus quartz dust, we could do it in a crusher. So let's see. We do have 2 crushing wheels. So I put some elevators here. So if we're gonna automate create over here, let's do that now. crushing wheel. 2 motors. And then if we go home and check our patterns, boom, there they are. They're fully crafted. So what we need to keep on doing is keep adding automations like that one. This automation here will be able to, anything that is automated in the crushing wheels, we'll be able to just place in there. Any of these 70 recipes. I'm not sure if we're really going to need them, but it's here, it's set up, it's ready to go. But what we do need now is to automate from AE2 the wireless connector. So we're going to need the quantum ring. We're going to need the energy cell. We're also going to need Fluix dust, which is made in here. If we middle click this, change it to 64, 64, that's going to go in a crushing wheel. And we're also going to need our smart cable, which we'll do this way. We do have that cable crafted. And that's everything for that. And then we also need the quantum link chamber and the Fluix pearl. And then for the Fluix crystal, we're going to craft this, but we're going to middle click it and change it to 64, 64, 64, and then this will be 128. And then we're going to need another pattern provider. So let's go ahead and we're going to place this one over here so we can automate our Fluix. So down here, let's rename this to Fluix Crafter. Yeah, we'll do that. And if we place that there, change it so it's pushing directly up, and I think we can hide this. So show or hide on pattern access terminal. Yes. Now since this, let's see, is there a in-world transformation that we need? No. Okay, so the in-world transformation, yeah. So this is the only recipe that we're going to do here, so we don't need this to have anything extra. Fluix crystals get created in there. So let's go, that's set up. And then in here, our crushing wheel is going to make Fluix. Then these ones are going to get made here. And then within AE2, we'll say, give me 16 of these. The white Fluix cable. Okay, so that's not correct. We need to change this pattern. How can we modify this? Let's make a dense smart cable. Take a second to craft that up. We'll change that to that. And now we can craft those. You give me 16. And then the quantum link chamber, give me 2. Oh, no crafting CPUs are available, so we have to wait for that other crafting CPU to get done with its craft, which will be, it's crafting wool. Let's make some acceleration cards. We need, within A2, there are cards that will make things craft faster. The acceleration card and the advanced card base. So we can make our crafters faster. Do I have the things to make them just as is? I do not. No, I should. Here we go. Let's do this. Make that. We'll make 4 of those, and if we bring those down here, we can put them in there, and now this is going to go a lot faster. And we could put 1 more in there. Let's make 1 more. We'll leave 2 in there. because it crafts 2. Now if we go home, we'll see that this is crafting and it's all done. And then 2 quantum link chambers. So we'll take these guys and this guy, and then we'll need a quantum entangled singularity. So this is going to allow us, and I put one down here. So this is using 5 of 8 channels. And what we're actually going to do is repurpose our system here to be using P2P tunnels. But for the time being, let's just take and place these here. So we're going to put one there, and then I'm going to move our crafting setups over to this side. And I'm going to put some walls in here to separate all of this out. But our controller is going to go here eventually, and our subnet will go there. So the quantum link chamber that we're going to do for our crafting pattern guys are going to go here. And I think we can just place a gate on this. We cannot. We need an energy acceptor for that. So let's get an energy acceptor. And we'll just place that. We'll go here for now. Maybe we'll change that later. So now we have 5 channels going down here, but we're going to move these. Zero of 8 channels. For some reason, it just keeps doing that network rebooting thing. I don't think it's actually like breaking down and doing a whole reboot of the system, but let's say coming off of this backside, we're gonna put crafting storage here, a molecular assembler, and our pattern providers. And these will be just random for the time being. There we go. And these, if we shift right click, we can actually place them in there like that. Now that might have put us over the usage on our channels. We're using 8 and we were using 3 before. We added in 5. I think we're at our capacity there. Oh, there's another pattern. Almost lost one of them. So what we are going to do is get P2P set up. So we need to autocraft our P2P tunnels, which are here. And then we're going to need a memory card. Blank memory card. The blank memory card we'll take from there. Oops. So we'll place that. And then we're going to need to craft some more controllers. So what we can actually do is put this in a processing pattern. And if we set up a pattern provider, and let's go with a barrel. We'll take just one. And we'll find a temporary spot for this. So this is using 1 of 8 channels because we're going to have to craft a bunch more of these guys. So if we put that in there, now when we ask for that craft, if we ask it to give us a controller, if we say, hey, craft me a controller, it does not know how to craft the energy acceptor, which is okay. We're going to have to teach it how to craft light gray glass. So these guys go in here, and now craft me, let's say, 7 controllers. We do not have enough to be able to do that because it is really expensive. So let's go down to just 2. We need Fluix block and chiseled Certus quartz block. All right, so the controller takes the Fluix block, and the controller takes the chiseled Certus, which I believe we can just do in a stone cutter. A cut. Let's see. We can say do that. The cut Certus. Certus comes from that. So pattern provider, and this is just a regular craft, and then the cut Certus comes from this craft, and the Certus quartz block comes from this craft. So we'll place these in here, and now give me 2 controllers. And what that is going to do is place the ingredients in this barrel once it's ready. And then we're going to need to take our copy paste gadget. We're going to take another piece of paper. We're going to save. If we put that there and put that there, and we're going to say this is an ore room. If we save that, now that's there. I click load, preview disabled for now, so the preview doesn't work. But what we can do is take our AE controller template and say load you onto there, and now our copy paste gadget will craft that. Once this is done, okay, this is gonna be an interesting fix for me to do, because it's dropping the items in the world, but they're being collected by the absorption hopper. So I think what I'm gonna need to do is make a vacuumulator. We'll place it here. Put an item filter in there. We'll say allow. Can I pull from JEI? Fluix. Yes, I can. So now let's try that again. And let's say, hey, craft me 200 Fluix. So it is dropping it into the world, and the vacuumulator is picking it up. And then we just need to get it pulled into the system. So place that there, place that in there, and it should, yes, start importing. Let's make 4 more acceleration cards. Now if we want it to make another batch of Fluix, we can say, hey, give me 400 of those. And we'll watch it get crafted really quickly. And then it's getting pulled in very fast by the importer. Excellent. Okay, so where were we? We were making the controller. Give me 2 controllers. And here we are, back with what we need. So what I'm going to do, and I think we're missing one piece here. The pattern going into that barrel, the Fluix block. What's our catalyst for the controller? The catalyst to throw in is the vibrant quartz glass, and that did not make its way into there. Vibrant quartz glass. Put a pattern here, and I added some more patterns in. Let's get 2 of those. Need to cancel that. Get 2 of these guys. And then over here, we have to place this in the world. And then we need to move it up just 1. So if we place that, and then throw that in there, and then once we pick that up, we're going to grab another one. There we go. Toss that in there. There we go. Now our controller setup. So we have it down here, but this is just a temporary location. I think what I want to do is move our controller up here. And we're going to use P2Ps to have it set up in a way. We're going to put it in the middle. Let's put it 2 in front of the middle. And then we're going to need to craft P2Ps. We'll take 10 of them. So we're going to make a subnetwork. So we'll have P2Ps connected here. And we'll make a bunch of smart cables. Gonna need wireless here soon enough. Where is the wireless stuff? Let's bookmark that. The wireless is right here. Wireless access point. And then there should be some extension cards. Equal distribution, like a range. Here we go. Quantum bridge card. I know we're gonna need that. We're going to need a universal terminal. So let's grab some cable here. So we can connect our P2Ps from our main network and run them through a sub network to output to all of our areas. So let's take a look. All right, guys, here's where we're at. I got rid of the majority of our quantum rings. They were chewing up a ton of power, so I had them under here. If you remember that, they were down here in this area, and they were chewing up a ton of power. And I had logged in and out a couple of times since setting them up, and they kept resetting, and I kept having to break and replace to get them to turn back online, and it was giving me a lot of issues. So what I did was just got rid of those. I set up some autocrafts, and we can go into our wireless system here to look at. I set up autocrafts for some smart cables, some purple stuff. So that is going to be the main color of our sub network. Anything that's purple, we need to make sure is not connected to the main network. It's not going to have access to our storage. So I'll try and explain this in a way that makes sense. We have our main net here on these controllers. That's where our wireless is hooked up, and I'm not sure. I think I can get rid of this. Yes, I can get rid of that access point. So our main net here and our security terminal, our security terminal and our wireless are connected to the main net. And then we have these P2P tunnels here that are connected, and you can see it's carrying channels 8, 11, and 7 channels each. So the P2Ps also need a channel. So normally what you would do is you would hook, let's go AE2, you would hook in some quartz fiber cables like so, and like a Fluix cable, and you would connect these so that they have power like this. You would connect them so they have power, and you would also have to connect them to a network that way that they could have channels. So what we do is just take our main net here, our main network, and the P2Ps run through another controller subnetwork. So here we have 3 P2Ps going in here, and then coming out this side, we can take 32 channels. What this allows us to do is not have these 3 channels, and then any of the outputs that we would have here, these 9 outputs that are on this channel, which are like the P2Ps here, that would be taking this cable all the way up to 12 channels. So what we can do is run them into a subnet controller. This controller will only be connected to P2P tunnels. So it gives us the option to output 32 P2P tunnels on just this one face. And if we wanted to in the future, we could move this along someplace else. And I'm not sure if we'll get to that point because we're only using 9 of 32. We have a lot of room. So essentially we could add in another 21 P2P tunnels coming off of this. So what I did, let's put away these and grab our network tool. If I grab our network tool, this we can toggle. We can see over here, we can toggle our facades, and now we can see everywhere that I have cables running that are covered up with facades. And those are all running through here, just like these facades that we had set up here in the past. And we can even go downstairs and see that they're connected and ran all throughout the base. They ran over that way, all the way through here. It runs down through here to connect to our previous systems that we had in place. And these have P2Ps set up. We can see that there's a P2P there. There's one down here that's connected to this drawer system. And there's also a P2P down here connected to where we are making our money. So if we track all the way back here, and I'll show you that setup right now too, we can track all the way back here. For all these cables, I also set down a little sheep farm. So we've got an animal rancher here that just shears these sheep. These sheep are small. Using the personal shrinking device, you can shrink down creatures. So that was a sheep that I had bred with these other ones. But that's where we are getting our wool. And even over here, you can see I've got that cable ran up through the floor, and that comes through here. So that has us all set up nicely. That took me a little while. Like I said, I had placed down the wireless connectors. I had placed down these quantum rings, and it was just giving me a lot of issues. Every time I logged out and logged back in, I didn't have my system connected, and I had to go and break and replace, and it was just being a huge pain. So now it is set up, and there's no issues with the system now. I expanded our autocrafting just a little bit because we needed some more space. As you can see here, we ran out of space, and I needed to make some more things. But those are all set up on autocraft now. So what I'm going to do is go through and edit the footage that I did have and see if there is more that I want to do this episode, or if the episode's long enough. All right, guys, so I think the episode is plenty long enough. What I'm going to do is go ahead and leave it here. Between the episodes, I'll probably play around a little bit with some things that might be tedious that need to get done. I know that I'm going to have to reset up the next level of our mechanical excellence, but we're very close to being back to where we originally were before we got the new base. So thanks for stopping in. Remember, it would be super appreciated if you could like and subscribe to the video, and any comments about things that I may have missed or any ideas that you have would be much appreciated. Thanks so much.